Hello everyone, this is Jotto, and welcome to another deck tech. Now, it's been a bit of a slow week. Haven't had a lot to talk about. However, something happened. Clone came back. Now, for those of you that don't know, Clone is one of those players that he varies, he comes in and out of Spellweaver, and whenever he comes back, he always goes back to his Angels. He's the Angels guy. He always comes up with Angels builds that work somehow. And if you ever see him talking about Angels being unplayable, he knows what he's talking about. He is the Angel guy. So he came back to the game, and hey presto, managed to make an Angel deck actually work. And at the moment, it is dominating top 10 of the ladder. Which, I mean, we'll see about a week from now whether that's going to stick. The current metagame is a bit dumb, I think, is the only word I could use there. Where last week it was over 50% hate bears, and the reason was that the deck was almost impossible to counter and had a pretty much favorable matchup against almost everything else. And Angels has kind of taken over because of the same reasons. It attacks in similar ways. It's good in the long games in a lot of situations, but it also can put on some pressure. Never thought I'd say that with Angels, but anyway. It can put on some pressure, and as a result, it can actually take games that Hate Bears couldn't. And that's basically why it has risen up a bit. It also has a lot of the same very, very good matchups, like against Rage and, strangely, Wisdom Dominion in some cases. The only card in Wisdom Dominion that is really hard to deal with is Helm. The rest of the stuff has been pretty easy, as we'll get through the list. So anyway, first things first, Advanced Alexa. Now, Advanced Alexa allows you to look at the top 4 cards, and if there's an Angel, you put one into play. Now, this is your form of draw. I have seen some versions running Hermeleon. I personally prefer Alexa because it's more consistent. Hermeleon does allow you to get massive life swings, but the problem is that you often run out of steam. So I definitely prefer the Advanced Alexa in this particular case. It's a bit random, but that's just what you got to do. Now, 8 1-drops. This is unusual for Angels. We've got the 4 Relic Guard as normal. Big defensive wall on turn 1. Helps against red a lot. It's very hard to kill with red. And also helps against Hate Bears a lot, since all this stuff does 2 damage. So, nice little bonus there. It's also pretty good against Wisdom Dominion. You wouldn't expect it, but it stops library guards from picking your board apart. So, yeah, they need 2 library guards to break through 1 Relic Guard, and 3 to break through 2. And Relic Guard costs 1 mana. So, in other words, they often have issues dealing with this thing. The only problem with Relic Guard against Wisdom Dominion is Assassin, basically. So, anyway, onto the other 1-drop. It's a mono order deck. So, Valor Incarnate comes in. The 1 mana 3/3 or 4/4, depending on the time of the game. Yeah, Valor an incredible powerhouse. It's actually not as good in this deck as it is in, say, mono order aggro, where it's probably the best card in the deck. Whereas here, it's on the lower end, but it's still massively powerful. It's a huge problem to deal with. Just a 1 mana 3/3 in general is just insane. And it will cause a ton of issues for anything that isn't running Harpy. Harpy basically destroys this thing, but outside of that, instilling back some 4/4s is always fun. Although it's not the strongest instill target, but it's definitely up there. And, I mean, you want as many instills as possible, and Valor is just the big stat wall, since this deck is not playing Elite Vanguard, which is the other sort of hunk of stats that get thrown around. On to the 2-drops. Only 1 2-drop, Sunblessed Priest. Now, Sunblessed Priest is in the deck because of the way it helps you win the game. Lifebound, gaining a little bit of life, feeds into the main win condition of the deck, which is life gain. As we'll get to a little bit later, there's Antriel, there's Word of Grace, and then there's Namir that gain tons of life over the course of a game. And Sunblessed Priest will gain you 2, maybe 4 life, and that will get you a bit closer to victory. On top of that, it's a priest, so it works with Namir, as does Relic Guard, so that's the life game part of Namir, and we'll see that there's a couple other knights as well to benefit off the buffing side of Namir. So it's got a little bit of a tribal theme to it. In addition to just its angels, it's got the sort of priest and also knights undertones. But generic 2/2, but it has a pretty useful ability given the deck it's in. Continuing on with the creatures, we have a lot of 3-drops. The first one, and probably, I'm not sure if it's the most important, it's definitely up there though. Angel Blessed Knight, the ramp. Now, 2/3 is not that difficult to deal with. It does die to Fireball, Assassinate, etc. Only thing it doesn't really die to is Fumes, but then it dies to Harpies, so it's pretty easy to get rid of. So, why is it around? Well, it's a priest and a knight, so it works with Namir. And it ramps you, so it works with all 3 of your tribals. And also, it benefits Valasworn, so there's 4 reasons to run this thing. It's an incredibly good card, and benefits Word of Grace. So, it just turns out that this deck can use ramp like no other. If you can go Angel Blessed into Angel the next turn if it lives, and if it dies, well, you just do something else, and then they're behind on tempo. So Angel Blessed Knight is a very, very useful asset. Onto the Cavalry Field Captain, arguably the best card in the deck. Cavalry Field Captain is one of those cards that always shows up in these order decks because it's so powerful. We saw this with Hermelion Elves, where they're basically splashing an entire extra aspect just for CFC and Hermelion, because CFC was amazing. It gives all the buffs. The speed buff is amazing, but it also gives the +1/+1, which lets you get trades you probably shouldn't be allowed to get. It's a knight, so it works with Namir. It's an instill target with an immediate effect, which is incredible. And also, you can't really attack into it. It is the king of combat, along with having 3 speed. It's an insanely powerful card, and never underestimate this thing. Very, very strong. Now, the last of the 3-drops is Spellwarden. Now, Spellwarden is only a 2 of, which I think some versions are running 3. This is just the basic list. Some versions are running 3, and it's quite useful. The reason that it's not a sort of a large number is because you can recycle them with Instill. So you only really need 1, and also it can't attack, which means you can't really use it to further your win condition, since when you get an Antriel in play, you can't attack with it, so you can't gain life, which is awkward. However, this will be mostly blocking things like Cataclysm and all of Red removal and Landslide being the main 3, and Consume. Blocking Landslide is huge because Angels basically gets gutted by Landslide. It's just miserable. I mean, that can be said for a lot of decks, but Angels gets annihilated by it. Outside of really late in the game where they Landslide and then you hero power the Angel they Landslided onto play, but besides that, it's pretty brutal. So you really want to be checking what spells are in their deck, and then you can kind of infer what spells are in their hand. However, if you see all of their spells, or you know they have one of each of the spells in hand, pick the Landslide, pick the Consume, probably pick the Fire Blast or the Dragonfire, depending on the board state. Just pick the high impact one. The other thing this allows you to do is potentially stop Burning Rage from coming down, which can mess with people quite a lot. So anyway, on to the next part of the curve, the last of the Instill targets, Namir. Now, we mentioned this guy a few times already. Namir is another one of those massively powerful creatures. 3/3, 3 speed, that's amazing. It costs 2, so you can instill it. It has 2 relevant abilities. It will gain 3 life, usually when you play on average. There's lots of priests in this deck, and there's lots of knights. So you can get +3/+3 or +2/+2 out of your Namir easily. And then out of the priests, you've got the Spellwarden, the Sunblessed, you've got the what's it called, Relic Guard, and Angel Blessed. You've got lots of priests, and then you've got 3 knights, including Namir. So generally, well, and I guess Namir is also a priest. So generally, you'll be getting a lot more out of Namir in this deck than you're probably used to while playing him in other decks, and it's a very, very nice, beneficial set of abilities. The body on him is actually the crazy bit. That 3/3 with 3 speed is brutal. It deals with Library Guards for free, and it lets you attack Hate Bearers indiscriminately, and if they bounce it in combat, it's not too bad. You replay it, you gain some life. And then you got a nice blocker. So Namir is an amazing, amazing creature, and definitely one of the best in the game. Alright, So, what are we using all these 2-mana creatures for? Well, that would be 4 instills. 4. That's the most amount of instills I've ever seen in the deck. I mean, it's such a powerful card here because you got Valus Warrens for just massive stats. You got late in the game Cavalry Field Captains and Namirs. It lets you compensate for stuff like Mesmerizing Spirit. They play Mesmerizing, you discard Namir and steal him back. I've done that before. You can recycle Spell Wardens when they invest a massive amount into killing them. I mean, think about it this way. You play Spell Warden, you get a bit Consume. Then they somehow kill the Spell Warden, so maybe double Fumes or Fumes and a Vermin, and then they use a Consume. And then you instill the Spell Warden and get another Consume out, and then now they're completely out of resources and they can't deal with the second one. So Instill's amazing with Spell Warden. You can also use it to recycle. Namir Life Gain is huge. Getting 2 Cavalry Field Captain triggers from the yard is crazy. Another combo for 4 mana is instilling a CFC and a Namir. You gain a life, and then you get +3/+3 and 1 speed on 1 creature because you can use Namir's ability to give +2/+2. So that's an amazing way of just pushing damage or just swinging into a large threat of your opponent and murdering it, basically. So Instill has a lot more stuff it can target than normal. I mean, the weakest target would definitely be Sunblessed Priest, but it's not awful. I mean, it's just kind of like Sunblessed Priest is what you should be instilling, basically, from the design of the card, but what you're actually instilling is 3/3s and bigger. So, yeah. Alright, on to the namesake of the deck. There are 8 angels in this deck. There are no Protectors of the Innocent. In fact, Clone called his tournament list Sorry Protector. Like, Sorry Protector's terrible or something. I can't remember, but it was funny. Anyway, so 4 Guardian, 4 Antriel. Now, the Guardian is basically the order equivalent of Phoenix. Costs the same, has 3 speed, flying, but it's a 3/4, and that ability is both a drawback and a benefit. It's a drawback because your opponent can actively kill it with tokens. That's the drawback. However, the upside to this is that it stops them from attacking with more than 3, which means that against Hate Bears, one of the ways you win is by pushing damage with 3 speed creatures like Namir and CFC, and then just getting Guardians, maybe 2 Guardians over 3 turns, and just stopping your opponent from attacking, because they can't attack everything into Guardian, so they have to attack 3 zombies in, and then pass the turn. And then next turn they've got to attack 3 more zombies in, and then pass the turn. You get the idea. And your hero power lets you search these out as well to some extent, so it becomes a lot easier to chain these things. Very, very powerful card. Also a nightmare to deal with Corruption. It only dies to a 4-level Consume, which is not exactly something you can afford early on in the game. Alright, Antriel. The largest creature in the game, along with Dread Knight. Actually, I'd say this is larger because it also has flying and more speed. So, 6/6 flying, lifebound, 2 speed. This thing is massive, but the second ability is what makes it incredible. It gives all of your other creatures lifebound. Now, that ability is insane, because it essentially means that Antriel allows you to convert your damage into life gain as well. So instead of just like with Word of Grace, you're basically saying, I'm going to win through life gain. With Antriel, you get to say, I'm going to pressure you with damage, but I'm also going to gain life on defense, meaning that when I'm blocking, you can't push damage, which is huge. They can't push damage when you're on defense. Antriel, 6 health. He dodges pretty much everything. Outside of Cataclysm and Helm, nothing touches Antriel pretty much. It dodges Consume in 99% of games. It will basically be almost unkillable for Rage. Not entirely, but close to. They always have to throw a Fireball and an Altar at it, is the basically the most efficient way of doing it. It doesn't die to Dragon as well, which is kind of insane. And is just a monster of stats. You can also get these out a little earlier than you probably should be able to, although this deck doesn't seem to hero power on curve as much as, say, the old one did. But occasionally, you get Antriel down on turn 4 off an Angel Blessed Knight and a hero power, and it's disgusting. So yeah, Antriel is an incredibly powerful angel, and it's definitely worth running the full 4 of, even though it is legendary, because your opponent is going to have to deal with these things because they are full win conditions. Now, the last card on the deck, mentioned it a few times, is Word of Grace. Word of Grace is basically your way of surviving to Antriel against red. It's your way of winning against Wisdom Dominion and other control decks. It helps you survive against Drain. It's an instant speed cycle, which is nice if your opponent has Cataclysm and you don't want to play anything into the board. It actually does a lot more for this deck than you'd expect. Simply because Antriel and Namir can generate life incrementally, and Word of Grace allows you to convert that incremental life gain into a victory against decks that can't pressure you very much. And against decks that pressure you a lot, it allows you to stabilize. So Word of Grace actually has a lot of play in this particular deck as opposed to just being a combo piece like it is in a lot of other decks. So I definitely like the Word of Grace here. It's a lot stronger than it looks. It's a bit funny in the mirror though, because the Spell Wardens only have 2 targets and still in Word. So that does get a little funny. It also helps against one turn heal, strangely enough, because you just play an Antriel and keep attacking. Outside of using the Antriel, because they can't, like, they can pacify one of your guys. If they play guards, you still gain 2 life. Namir gains you life, and then Word of Grace will probably out heal because you're less combo reliant than they are. Since you don't have a secondary color, so you can just Word of Grace straight up. This is actually probably the best Word of Grace deck in the game. Even against one turn heal, which is kind of amusing considering that deck is literally designed just to use Word of Grace as a victory condition. Alright, so that's the entire deck. 19 basic shrines because there aren't enough angels to use Triangelica. So yeah, very, very simple deck. It actually plays a lot different. It plays quite a bit differently to the older versions. The older versions were basically combo decks. They were solely combo decks, whereas this one does a lot of beatdown. I know it's kind of weird saying that with angels, but anyway, it does a lot of attacking, and most of your games you're going to be winning through attacking in some regard, whether it be through healing from Antriel into a Word of Grace finish, or just from killing them with damage. Barrack Nurse, this is Hate Bears. I do like this opening. Relic Guard, Angel Blessed Knight, Cavalry Field Captain is a nice opening, so I'll keep it. Don't need to divine. The Instill will be nice because if he plays Mesmerizing Spear, I can always discard a CFC. Play the Angel Blessed, and we'll get rid of the Antriel. Antriel will come into play later, but it's one of those times where it's like it's the most expensive card in hand, so you just get rid of it. Later on this week, by the way, I'll be doing the first set of spoilers, since we're getting our first set of spoilers on Tuesday, so that's a big deal. This looks like a fumes to me. That's fine. Double fumes? Okay. That was a strange attack. Now, I could go CFC here, or I could just place Sunblessed Knight and Valisworn. I mean, the worst thing he can do is Tornado Outbreak or Relic Guard, which is not exactly what you want to be doing, and then take the quote-unquote free kill. But then I've got CFC, so I can turn that free kill into just some life gain. So, yeah. Presents a few problems for him. Fumes? Sure. Now, unfortunately, I can't push through to kill these. But I can present a pretty much unattackable situation here. Now, I've got a strange feeling I'm going to be using an Instill next turn. So, yeah, and if the game goes long enough, I'll get that Guardian back anyway, which I'll need back in the deck. Next turn, I'm either going to be using Namir or Instill, so I'd rather just focus on those plays. That's annoying. It's not too bad, but it is a bit annoying. That was actually an incorrect play. I should have put the Valasworn on top so I could play Namir Valasworn, which is better than just Namir. I'll just play the double CFC then. Get rid of the Valasworn because 2 speed's a bit of a liability. Reference. Okay. I haven't done any damage, which is a problem. Interesting. I'm hoping he taps out here so he doesn't have any mana. Because I really don't want to deal with the tornado. I can take this out for free. He's actually not in a fantastic situation here. I haven't done any damage, but his board doesn't attack me on any notable level. Alright, so we get Namir's ability down here. Turning it into a 5/5. Now, I'm going to get rid of the Instill because I don't foresee my board dying. Because the investment required to do that is way too high for him to actually do. Sure. Provided he doesn't have a second one, that's fine. Insatiable Ghoul. That's potentially a problem. Alright, so I can attack here, pump, and then attack here, take out the majority of his board. He can't Reverence yet. And then I can just play a Guardian. I think that's the play I like. I could also Hero Power, but I want to actually pressure him because I'm not going to win a very long game, so I need to actually pressure him before he can get maybe 2 more Reverences off, because then at that point I'm just going to lose. I'm just going to close the window because there's a bit of background sound. Another ghoul, you say? Yeah, he has to move back now, which is very good for me. Let's try and Hero Power first. Hit the Antriel. He's already played the Landslide, so it has to be Fumes or Tornado. So. Yeah, he hasn't played a Tornado yet, meaning he could be playing 4 Tornado, and if he's playing 4 Tornado, then I can't allow him to have that. He is not happy. Yeah, this metagame has been not exactly fun to play recently. I'm kind of with Bargner on that. It hasn't exactly been fun to play. It's kind of, if at the moment it feels like pick your overpowered deck and wait until someone finally figures out a way of maybe countering it, but not really. So yeah, it's a bit of an awkward spot. Now, I do have the Guardian, so I can just go for 3 speed attacks. There's a Word of Grace. How much life can I gain here? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I need Antriel to get through a full hit, which is just not going to happen. So, yeah. I'll Word of Grace the first time, because if I draw a second one, I win. The Guardian is effectively stopping him from Alpha Striking. I mean, he's just going to use the double Vermin here. Or not. Move this back. Play the 3-3. He's at 4, which means I can push through some 3-speed stuff. This matchup kind of always comes down to this. It's just it's a Reverence timer. The third Reverence wins, but generally Angels doesn't let the game go long enough for the third Reverence to happen. Or it usually wins the turn of the third Reverence. Yeah, and he just couldn't get any bounce spells. You really need multiple landslides and a tornado to beat Angels with Hate Bears. So yeah. Anyway, so Angels is one of those weird decks where it looks hyper defensive, but it's actually more of a mid-rangey beatdown deck nowadays, which, to be fair, is a nice take, because a lot of the other decks right now, you've got Hate Bears as a sort of aggro deck with a lot of sustain, and Rage is an aggro deck with a lot of sustain. And then you've got hyper control decks with Wisdom, Wisdom and then Wisdom Corruption as well. So it's nice to see a bit more of a mid-rangey deck come up, but right now I think the main reason we're seeing some problems with the metagame right now is, I talked about this a little bit on stream, is basically that a lot of the power for each aspect is too focused in a few individual cards. So in this case, there's too much power in Namir and CFC, I think. And maybe Valorsorn. But yeah, Namir and CFC have a lot of power focused in on them, so they're incredibly strong. Whereas with Nature, it's like Landslide and Tornado, and then with Wisdom, it's Library Guards and New Horizons. So there's a lot of focus on a few individual cards, meaning that the decks that use them to their fullest always just rise to the top. So yeah. Anyway, on Tuesday, or Wednesday, depending on how they do the spoilers, I'll be doing a video covering the expansion, and also, well, the expansion info, and also the first 3 cards that will be added to the game, because it's very exciting. And I'll be talking about their both trials and constructed applications. But anyway, thank you all for watching. If you like the content, please subscribe. If you have any feedback or want to ask me any questions, put it in the comment section below. If you want to support the channel directly, there is a link to my Patreon in the description. But now, it's been Jotto, signing off.